The Exciting and New Podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Brian.
We're looking at the latest episode on our podcast here. The three stories we had this week were Lost and Found, The Understudy, and Married Singles, which originally aired November 19th, 1977.
This was a crazy episode. This had a lot of drama.
This was
uncomfortable drama.
Would you say this was our most serious episode so far?
It definitely had our most serious storyline, followed by another storyline, which was, I guess, also serious, the Julie storyline.
Yes.
And then I was saying to Brian right before we started, this show does not know what it wants to be. Does it want to be drama, or does it want to be Three Stooges slapstick? It can't figure out what it is.
I had something written down about that. Okay, probably very similar to what you're thinking about right there. Real quick, here's our IMDb description. Theo Dennison Jr. buys a cruise with his own money and doesn't tell his parents. Sharon can't release the pain of her son's death. Julie's protege, Connie, is after Julie's job. Maisie and Durwood are a married couple traveling as singles. Very vague description. Doesn't really...
Very vague, because actually, I mean, like the one with the kid traveling alone, that doesn't even begin to talk about what he did on the cruise ship or how he got on there.
There's a lot to that little story there. I agree. Shout out a few of our guest stars here. Steve Allen came up first. He's playing Durwood Moss.
Durwood is such a funny name because the only time I've ever heard that name used as a first name was when on Bewitched. When the mother-in-law, I'm forgetting her name now, like Esmeralda or whatever, Samantha's mom,
Angora,
whatever, would make fun of Darren. She would call him Durwood, and I remember like all the time being like, "That's not even
is that a type of wood?" Maybe?
Like I was like, "That's not even a name." So when they called Steve Allen Durwood, I'm like, "Oh, that's a real name. Who would name their kid Durwood?"
Yeah, and then Moss on top of it. Just it adds to, like,
it is weird, right?
He's in. This is one of three episodes that he'll be in. He plays three different characters. Most famous for The Tonight Show from 1954 to 57. He was the original host before Jack Parr.
He was before Jack Parr.
Yeah,
I thought Jack Parr was the original.
Yeah, it was Steve Allen, then Jack Parr, then Johnny.
And then whoever else is followed.
And then that crazy with Jay Leno, then
Conan and Jay Leno.
And then now it's Jimmy Fallon, right?
Is it Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel?
I think it's Jimmy Fallon as The Tonight Show.
I haven't watched late night in 20 years.
I don't even...
I watched Letterman back in the 90s, and then I stopped even watching him.
I think it used to be sometimes I would see who was going to be on if it was a decent guest that I liked, or even... And that was the same with like some early Conan I got into, but that was it.
It's funny. Steve Allen's one of those guys who... I was talking to Michelle, my wife, before...
My wife?
My wife. Well, it's for the listener. For all three of you out there. She was asking me who was on this episode.
Well, everybody listening probably knows Michelle. So.
That is true. That is true. She was like, Steve Allen. She's like, do I know him? I'm like, he's like one of those guys. And I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't point to one thing that I could say, oh, yeah, you remember him from. But then I remembered what you'd have to know this movie like the back of your hand. But there is a scene in the movie Casino where Joe Pesci's walking through the restaurant and he shakes hands with Steve Allen.
Oh, is he performing there or something?
No, Steve Allen's like eating dinner and Pesci like shakes hands with him and they say something about like Ace, De Niro's character. Oh, hey, Ace wanted me to pass you a message. And he's like, oh, he's making a messenger out of you too or something like that. And that was it. That's the extent of the scene.
So he's playing himself in the role,
he's
right?
never even named. I mean, but it's Steve Allen. So but that's really it. Like, I guess he was kind of one of those guys that...
I also remember him from the old game show with Tattletales when they would come on with their husband and wife. Mm-hmm. It was Bert Convey was the host. Remember that one, Tattletales?
Is his wife famous, Steve Allen's?
Steve Allen's? Edie something, right? Stephen Edie, right?
Yeah, Edie Gourmet? Gourmet?
Yeah, Edie Gourmet.
The name sounds familiar.
The name sounds familiar, and then if you saw the face, I think they were a duo. They were a comedy duo for a while.
They were probably vaudeville,
yeah,
maybe even or early.
I mean, Steve Allen's one of those guys like a Milton Berle, like a not so much Bob Hope, because Bob Hope did all those specials in the '80s, but you knew he was famous, but you don't know why.
George Burns was a comedian.
When you're growing up in the '70s and '80s, like you're just like Steve Allen. Like, okay, I know the name, but why?
Yeah. It's one of those things. Again, we talked about this last week, I think, where we're on that age group where were probably the last ones that would remember Steve Allen. People a little younger than us.
Oh, definitely. I should have asked my son when he was here, but he wouldn't have no idea. And I'd say, "You saw me Casino," and he'd be like, "Really? Come on."
Like that real small part?
Because I didn't point him out when I saw the movie.
Because
with
you
him.
didn't. Yeah, you didn't think you were doing this podcast 6 years later.
We just actually watched Casino a couple of weeks ago. But
that's why it's
regardless
fresh,
of that. So anyway, so Steve Allen.
Yeah. Did you had more for Steve Allen?
I have nothing more for Steve Allen.
I know you said Polly Bergen. She plays Macy Nolan. She's in 3 episodes total, 2 different characters. So I don't know if this one comes back or not.
You said Steve Allen's in 3 also?
Yeah, as 3 different characters.
As 3 different characters.
Yep.
Okay. Polly Bergen, no idea who she was. I looked her up. She was in The Sopranos, and she was Tony's dad. Was he Anthony also?
She played his dad?
She was his dad's Golmare.
Oh, yeah.
And they went to a funeral for, I guess, Tony's aunt or something like that, and he met her at the funeral.
I think she might be in the prequel, The Many Saints.
Oh,
yeah.
She might be. She might very well be. But yeah, so her character, I think, was Fran in The Sopranos, and it was a 1-episode thing, and I think Tony kind of befriended her. But if I remember correctly, as all things Sopranos, like I think all of a sudden she was like looking for money, and he cut her loose because
he kind of like it was doing it because it was
she was a window into his father, like tell me what my dad was like kind of thing, exactly. And then she was like buy me a mink coat.
That guy, then that's over. Like, I got all the stories I want from this one. Yeah,
so that's the only thing I knew her from.
Now,
I would have never known her name.
I remember the scene. I could see her asking for shit like that. Yeah,
I don't remember.
Brian, you need to get on The Sopranos.
I do. I have a correction for the Steve Allen wife.
Damn it!
Wasn't Edie Gourmet?
It wasn't Edie Gourmet. That was Steve Lawrence.
Steve Lawrence.
He was married to Jane Meadows.
Oh, Jane Meadows. Wait a minute. That name sounds very familiar. That's not Alice from The Honeymooners? No, that's Audrey Meadows.
That's Audrey Meadows. They're related, though, aren't they?
Yeah, she is the elder sister
of Audrey Meadows. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know Jane Meadows unless I do, and I just don't.
Jane
remember.
Says.
I think she was in a lot of oldie movies.
Yeah. Hey, she's kind of cute there. When's that picture from?
1940s.
1940s. Okay, well, that was a long time
ago. I spent a week there one night.
All right, let's get on with this nonsense.
All right, I'm sorry. So that was Polly Bergen. Polly Bergen. After that, we had Sandy Duncan. She's playing Sharon Baker. This is one of her 2 episodes. She plays 2 different characters. But I remember Sandy Duncan from like the old Hogan family after Valerie Bertinelli left.
Yeah, I remember her from that also. But she was definitely a name that you knew about in the 80s.
I don't know why I knew her, though.
Well, I can tell you how I know her.
Didn't she do commercial? Wait, she did a Triscuit.
Did she do Triscuit?
I think she did Triscuit.
And Peter Pan, too.
Well, I was going to say, I believe, and I have no way of verifying this, although I could verify it. I could call my aunt, but my aunt lived in New York when I was growing up in Manhattan, and she took me to see Peter Pan on Broadway when I was a child, like 10 years old.
That's a cool experience.
I barely remember seeing that. I kind of have flashes of seeing Peter Pan. So I was like, I looked it up. I was like, oh yeah, Sandy Duncan, when we're watching this. I was like, there's no chance I saw her as Peter Pan, right? And then I looked it up, and it had to have been her. Because it was like the 1979 revival, and then there wasn't another Peter Pan revival till like the 90s. And I know I wasn't in my 20s when I saw it. So I think I saw Sandy Duncan as Peter Pan.
That's pretty cool.
I really can't confirm that. And
I think we confirm it as he did see.
I do remember like asking questions like, why do they have a girl playing Peter Pan? And the person that played Peter Pan in the 90s revival was also a female. Like, I guess they just...
Do you remember who it was in the 90s?
Nah. Who cares? It wasn't...
I didn't know if it was...
I mean, I only knew that they revived it because I was looking at the Wikipedia page on Peter Pan today, and it said Sandy Duncan was in the 1979 one.
A lot of traffic on that page, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm not a big Peter Pan fan. Like, I guess I've seen the Disney movie, but not since I was a child.
I think that's the last time I saw it.
And I never saw that movie Hook. With Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams. Not Dustin Hoffman?
Maybe. Yeah, I think you might be right. One of them.
Julia Roberts played Tinkerbell.
Yeah, what a stinker she is.
They just did a live one on TV, and it had, what's his name? Wow, I really tanked that one. Yeah.
That heavyset thin guy?
Yeah, exactly. No, he's got a weird voice.
Oh, jeez. Describe weird Bobcat.
John Benjamin?
Bobcat.
No, he's older guy. everybody imitates his voice.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken. And it was an absolutely insane version.
Was it like one of those live?
Hook.
Was it one of those live things
live on TV?
Yeah.
They did a Grease one.
I was going to say, I saw like 3 minutes of the Grease one.
And they did a Christmas story. I think they tried to do a Christmas story one. It was horrible.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Horrible.
I don't get that, but whatever.
The revival they did of the All in the Family and
I
the
did
Jeffersons,
watch that.
those
that was
were good.
Yep,
those were good.
I watched the All in the
did,
Family one.
They did actual episodes and then for the Jeffersons, whatchamacallit came back.
Sherman Hemsley.
Florence.
Marla Gibbs.
Yeah, she played her role in it, and she's like, I think she's got to be close to 90.
Oh, this was recently. She did. And I never saw the Jefferson one.
And like I was like, she needs her own show again. You know what I mean?
Well, she had 227, right?
And
she had her own show.
Was she in Amen as well, or no?
I mean, it wasn't her show, but 227 was her show.
227 was her lead. Yeah, she was the lead in that. But
with Jack Kay.
What she got pretty big on the Jeffersons there. There was like a lot of episodes in the middle of those middle seasons that were Florence centric. And
did they spin off her character on the Jeffersons?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Why do I think they did? Because she wasn't on the Jeffersons the whole run. She
came in like season 3 as
no,
well.
But I mean, she left at one point. I don't want to talk about the Jeffersons. That's for our Jeffersons-centric podcast. We're not even through the cast. We're like an hour and 15 minutes of this podcast. We're still doing the cast.
Joanne Harris.
We're only halfway through the cast, too. There's other people to talk about.
Joanne Harris, she plays Connie Evans. This is her only episode.
Yeah, I looked her up.
Stop me if there's anything you want to say.
I looked her up, and
I didn't see anything.
She's like a nobody.
I do want to say that she's like 2021 hot.
Oh, she was smoking
gorgeous.
hot. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If I was Captain Stupid, I would have been like, Julie.
You mean
Meryl? You hit the bricks. Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
First of all, can we talk about the voiceover? The voice dubbing?
No, we'll get to that. We will get to that. That was, I mean, Gopher did a great impression of it because it was the goddamn voice. Oh, my God.
All right,
That is really poor. That's poor writing.
Jim Stafford, he plays Richard Baker. He's in 3 episodes, 3 different characters.
Which one? Who's that?
That was Sandy's husband.
Oh, he was like a country music star or something like that. I looked him up also. He was like, I don't know.
He wasn't in like stuff I watched.
No. He was also a nobody. You can't get all A-listers.
I wanted to look this up. I forgot to look this up. Loni Anderson, she plays Barbie. She's 5 episodes, 4 different characters. But
she wasn't even in the opening credits.
When did WKRP start?
That's what I wanted to look this. I mean,
it was before this, right?
She wasn't in the credits. She wasn't a person that deserved to be in the credits at the time.
But now
she was in this.
You know what? But she has a big enough role that she should have been in the credits. Like you think about it, right?
But again, she's like the Marsha character a couple of weeks ago, where they don't even show her getting on the boat. She just shows up on the boat.
Why she's even
through.
Into Epstein? Like,
there was no reason for. Oh, not Epstein. Oh, yeah. Why is she into Steve Allen, for God's sake? Steve Allen's an old man. I mean, she's probably what do you call those kind of women that are after old rich guys?
She wants a sugar daddy.
Sugar daddy, yeah. She wants a sugar daddy, but I mean,
so she was 32 in this episode. Loni Anderson.
She was that old? I mean, she looks young, but whatever. She held up well.
WKRP was started in 78.
Oh, so the next year. Yeah, so this was like her breakout role, I guess.
Like, did you see that blonde with the on the boat?
I want to give you some. I want to see your policies or whatever that guy says to her at the end.
Oh my God, that guy was so annoying.
Okay, let's get going.
Joshua Bryant, he played Jack Plymouth, who you just mentioned.
I don't know him either.
J.J. Saunders played Mr. Dennison, and Hayden Rourke.
He's somebody.
Played Mr. Humbertson.
I looked him up, and he's somebody.
And James Bond III plays the boy. He has a really cool name.
Getting information on that kid is almost impossible. I looked up James Bond III, and it's really hard to put in James Bond in a search engine and not get James Bond.
And then you're getting the third James Bond movie.
Like To Live Is To Die or whatever. I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I want the kid. But he's like hasn't done much. He did some stuff.
I don't think he did much
at the
acting,
time, but
his face looked very familiar. Like I've seen it. Maybe I've seen him in an episode of another show.
Nothing like he didn't do a guest appearance on, I don't know, Saved by the Bell or Different Strokes or anything like that.
The Waltons.
I got to look up that guy. I'm sorry, I don't like to do this during them. But
which guy were you talking about? The
Mr. Dennison.
Oh, J.J. Saunders.
J.J. Saunders.
Yeah, J.Jay Saunders. That was Mr. Dennison.
That doesn't sound right, but
he looked like another familiar guy. That
he did.
Not like a main star, but like somebody in the background of a show or a movie that I definitely have seen.
Yeah, no, he was in something.
Him up now,
but
I'll look him up.
Oh, I remembered. He was in I Dream of Jeannie. He was like the colonel of I Dream of Jeannie. So he was like J.R. Ewing's boss.
Okay.
On I Dream of Jeannie. That's what it was. You
I got 19 things here that James Bond the Third was in.
Yeah, is it like Moonraker and
School Days?
Man with the Golden Gun.
ABC After School Special. He BJ and the Bear, an episode of that. Vegas with the $sign. The Waltons. He was on the Waltons.
That.
He was in 2 episodes of the Waltons.
For the Waltons.
Josh Foster in the Waltons.
2 episodes is the same character.
He was in an episode of the Wonder Woman, and that's it. Pretty much.
All 70s stuff.
He was in Tabitha.
So he was a kid doing all that stuff. Waltons, Vegas, Wonder Woman, Love Boat.
And now you said J.J. Saunders. You saw him in, what was the one you said you saw?
Beetlejuice
he was in.
Who, the old man was?
He's in Moving Man. He's the Moving Man in Beetlejuice, yeah. House Party he was in.
Dude, we can't be talking about the same guy. House Party, the Kid and Play movie?
We're talking about J.J. Saunders, the dad of Theo at the end.
Oh, no.
That's who that's why
I'm sorry.
Him, right? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, I'm confusing you with the guy that, whoever the chick was that was aiming for Julie's job.
Mr. Humberton?
Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Him. That's who I'm talking about. I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were talking about
that's Hayden Rourke.
Okay. He was in I Dream of Jeannie. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, he was definitely the colonel.
Yeah.
He played doctor. He played the doctor. He was in 149 things.
Yeah,
wow.
the family of James Bond, I didn't know. I didn't even look those people up because by the time that got to it was so far to the end of the episode, I was like, whatever. All right.
Yeah, that guy was in a lot.
Let's go.
Any Titanic jokes this week, Andy?
No Titanic joke. And no, they did not tell us where we were cruising to. Not one mention of...
There was a couple mentions of Puerto Vallarta.
Was there really?
Yeah, because they were going to pick up Theo there.
Oh, yes.
And then there was also talk of Mazatlan. Again, which is, we've mentioned, that one's been mentioned before, too.
Okay. They mentioned stuff, but again, it was funny because maybe 20 minutes into the episode, I heard them talking about the captain's farewell thing.
Yeah, I thought
and
that
I'm
was
like, they're talking about the farewell already,
but it's the farewell
dinner.
The cruise,
but
right? Yeah, I thought it was his.
They're on the cruise and they're already. It's the first commercial break, and they're talking about the farewell dinner, which I cannot wait to get to that point because I have 8,000 problems with that whole scene. But let's go.
Okay.
Let's start the show.
Opening scene starts off with we've got
a bunch of penguins. Those might actually be puffins.
Okay. So yeah, we start off with Julie, Gopher, Doc, and Isaac, and Julie's talking about a trainee that just got signed on by Captain Steubing, and they're waiting for. And then the guys find out it's her.
Yeah, and
they start saying,
falling over each other. Well, no, Isaac actually was very classy. The Gopher and Doc are just ridiculous here.
Didn't Doc say,
why don't you come to my room and I'll examine your body or something?
What a douche. I fucking like Bernie Capel, too. And it's just
he really is.
He makes you want to hate him.
He's really an awful person. I think he develops into not an awful person later on, but he is really bad.
But think about it. He's already got 4 marriages. And
was it last week or the week before that he was like
smitten? He's smitten every week.
He fell in love with the young girl that was the twins.
And now he falls in love
he
with
was also playing the guy where he was like, he was cock blocking the other guy.
Hardcore blocking
Patty Duke. He was like,
yeah.
Oh man, just not a good feel on Doc here.
And then there was that line from Julie about when he was trying to get her room number, and she was like, he wants to know it in case she gets attacked. And Julie was like, the only way she's getting attacked is if I give you her room number.
That was good. I like that.
Oh my God. So what's this chick's name?
This is Connie.
Connie. Okay, yeah. I'll call her Connie because I don't know to call her anything else. Like I'll be calling. Yeah,
it's not like she was in anything that we know.
I'll be calling Sandy Duncan Peter Pan, and I don't know.
I'll
call her Sandy Duncan. Usually, I like to call people by their characters of other things' names, but
it's hard to remember these names. These didn't stick. Durwood's not sticking around.
I don't even remember what Loni Anderson's character name on WKRP was. Was it Jennifer or Jessica?
I think it was
or something
Jennifer.
Like that? Yeah, so.
And she was definitely Barbie in this episode.
Because Steve Allen says I'm Ken, which was actually a pretty good line.
I laughed at that.
And she kind of looked at him like, "What?"
But that showed you the kind of person that Steve Allen is just the old school, quick line at just throw a line at you, and it sticks. It was funny.
So this woman Connie has come aboard to train with Julie.
Yeah, she's basically doing the same job as Julie.
I mean, she's shadowing her, really. I think we would call that nowadays, right?
Hey, we're going to have you follow Julie for the first 3 cruises. And then
you'll get your own boat.
Yeah.
Her idea is to get Julie's this boat. Yeah, which is really weird.
Which you noticed right away. She get that look Steubing walks away, she gives a look over to Steubing. It's just everything is pointing to Connie being the evil in this episode for Julie, right? I mean,
she's
foil.
Evil for sure. Because she doesn't even hide the fact that she's doing it, because she steals things out of her room and tells people things that there's no way she could possibly know that. And
she basically just tells Julie right straight out, like, yeah, well, then
so it's very strange. I mean, that she'd be so open about, I'm taking your job. When
we got a little Pacific Princess action.
If there. I was Julie, I'd go right to Captain Steubing and be like, yo, get rid of this woman. Like, am I in danger?
No, because right away, everybody sees her as the perfect person once again. It's just like Steve Allen and Macy Nolan here. You didn't even know they were together at first here.
So they're checking in, and she butts in front of Steve Allen.
Do you know what cabin she's staying in?
No.
She's in cabin F-135, and that's on the Fiesta deck.
Well, F, obviously, Fiesta deck. And he's right next door. We'll find out.
Yeah, that's a
spoiler.
Perfect.
So she checks in, then he checks in under different names, but as we'll find out soon.
They exit the scene, though, Steve Allen goes, age before beauty, and then she comes back with... what'd she say? She said, pearls before swine.
Now, Sandy Duncan and her husband are getting introduced now to Julie. Is there any kind of... Does Julie have any kind of previous relationship with this guy?
I don't know. We're talking about her hometown. Like from Forest Grove.
Are they doing that right now at the beginning? Because I know at the end, all of a sudden they start talking about like she knows. I'm like, when did this get brought up? This guy has.
It's real weird because it just cuts into their conversation. They're already talking about like the hometown or whatever. Okay. Because I don't know if they knew each other. It just happened that he happened to be from the same place.
Yeah, because at the end,
you used to go to that deli too.
At the end, she's like, "Oh, I'll look you up when I'm back home." I'm like, "Wait a minute, do we know these people?"
It was weird. There was no real need.
And
for that.
So Sandy Duncan goes away crying because Connie basically says, "How's your dead kid?" And Sandy Duncan goes running off in tears.
I didn't understand why you have kids and
she loses it. So yeah. As we're going to find out, their
little boy was
passed.
8 years old.
Yeah.
It was real sad, too. He was only expected to live for 2, they say.
They make it from tragic to pulling at your heartstrings tragic. So this child obviously
it kind of takes away from any of the humor in the episode for me.
This child had problems at birth if the doctors only expected to live for 2 years. Although I must say, my doctors gave me 2 years, and they were way off. We would have all been better off if I'd only lived 2 years.
So here we had Doc asking Gopher for Connie Evans' cabin number, and that was the attack in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And then they said Gopher was worried here because they said he was short one passenger.
Right.
And this is where he said they're looking for
which is
Theodore Dennison Jr.
In 1977, to know that you're one passenger short when there's people checking in all over the boat, all over the place.
I thought
and they're about to leave. Too. So it's like,
he's doing a head count like this. 1, 2, 3.
Is he yelling to Julie, how many you got on your sheet?
And the amount of people that are walking on the boat.
As friends that are just because anybody can walk on a boat apparently back then. So everybody's walking on the boat and he's one person short. So somehow this 8-year-old, how old is he?
I think 8-year-old was Sandy's boy. I don't know if he ever got this boy's age. Really,
this kid does not act like an 8-year-old, but
this kid was very very smart and just
precocious. I believe
I have a question. I guess I'll ask it later. I don't want to spoil the episode. I guess.
Yes. So I have a couple things. He references things a young child should not be able to reference at.
He had a note. Which made me think of Epstein's episode a couple episodes ago, and a note said, Theodore paid for his cruise out of his newspaper money, and he is old enough to travel alone. Signed, Mom.
Yeah, signed Mom. That's like an old joke, where the kid gives the note why he wasn't in it. It's signed My Mom or something like that. So
everything looked like it was real up into that minute. You're like, oh, he almost had us. If he would have just put Agnes or whatever Mrs. Dennison's name was. I don't think we got her first name.
No. So they're about to find this kid played by James Bond III.
Here, and then he said they were going to call Stockton, but they can't call until the ship
leaves port.
I
don't know. Old boat rules.
Brian, we're going to go to Brian for the boat rules there.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
Right? I thought that.
Can't someone run out to a payphone? If that's really a problem, if you can't call from the boat until you're out at sea, run to a payphone and say, hey, we've got a child on this boat. Call somebody.
Like, I don't know why nobody's really alerted, right? Like, that would be the main thing, I think, right now. Like, you can't have this kid on here.
If you're a child actor in the 70s and your name is James Bond III, wouldn't you think you'd call yourself, I don't know, Jim Bond, something to distinguish.
Like Jimmy Bond works
something
at that
to
age,
distinguish
right?
yourself.
He's also
in the
third.
70s,
So
James Bond was huge. Like that's a crazy.
So his father and his grandfather are also out there rocking that same name.
But
almost,
they were
James
they
Bond,
were probably
right?
both born before James Bond was a thing. This kid's obviously a child in the 70s.
What year were those books written?
In the 50s, 60s. And the first movie was like 62 or 3. So
how do you come up with that name, James Bond? Before it's even the thing, like I guess it's
someone's name. It's
Jimmy
a name.
Bond. I guess it's Jimmy Bond.
But,
yeah,
I mean, Ian Fleming just created it out of thin air, but yet this kid is real name James Bond. That's very strange. I mean,
do you wish you had a cool name like that though? Like
no, I don't.
Like if you were like Jimmy Durante.
Well, you didn't say that cool. I'm sorry. Jimmy Durante goes in the Steve Allen.
I think it's a mad world reference.
I knew of him as a child, but what he did, I couldn't tell you.
I guess I'm just going for old references. We're on the Love Boat.
Yeah. I would have said something like Luke Skywalker. Like that would have been.
How about Luke Starkiller?
Oh, that's a deep cut. We're 3 minutes into this episode.
Here we go. Let's do this. Okay, so then
Gopher and Doc meet. What's the kid's
They're
name?
going to take Theo off to his. They end up taking Theo off to his room. Theo basically just takes over. It's almost like he has command of his elders around him. They're just like, okay, we'll do what he wants to do.
It's a big problem in TV, always. I mean, it goes through all television shows where there's a child on there where the child is way too smart for a person that age. Obviously, he's got adult writers writing him his dialogue. And you're like, how does this kid...
My thing here is if I'm an executive and I see this kid, it's a pretty good performance, I think. I think this kid might have deserved his own show, possibly, or like as the one of the star kids on a show, like even,
I mean, he's of the age that he could have been like Arnold and Willis's friend on Different Strokes or something like that.
Yeah,
or
he could have been Dudley. He could have been molested by Gordon Jump.
He could have been the Gooch.
Oh, they never show the Gooch. That's
show
great.
The Gooch.
We will be doing some Different Strokes episodes coming soon.
I'd never agreed to that.
We were going to pick several episodes of some famous shows.
Yeah, that's your idea. I said I never agreed to that. So this kid's stuck on this boat now. Basically, he said he paid for it with his
newspaper
money. Do we ever actually confirm that he did do that? Because then there's an uncle that they say paid for it, but that might not be true either.
There's never confirmation, but I think I will go with the newspaper.
This kid's
money.
got a pre-boombox era.
That
tape
they show a little close up in an elevator scene later, which I was excited for. Can we call him we can't really call him a stowaway, right?
Because, no, he paid.
Because we've had some stowaways, so I was like, is that a possible stowaway to our stowaway tally? Not that we've been really keeping a tally, but I just thought
so
of that.
So he goes dancing away.
Bon Voyage scene real quick. They showed Sandy sad. Yeah. Like she was okay.
Everybody else is throwing
confetti.
Yeah. Did they ever explain, everybody gets an explanation why they're on a cruise. Do they get that explanation? Like,
I guess it's kind of like trying to move on from that because she seems to not be able to process, I guess, grieve correctly.
It's kind of weird, a cruise to forget about your dead child, but whatever. I guess that's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
less options in the 70s. I guess you can't just do everything back then.
So we find out here that Steve and Maisie are married, and the marriage counselor suggested they go on separate vacations, but they booked separate vacations on the same boat and end up at the cabins are next to each other.
Well, she booked the cruise. I think Steve Allen surreptitiously booked the cruise next and got the room next. I think he kind of was like, you're not going on a cruise by yourself.
She says to him he used to be romantic. He used to call her late at night. He said, well, the rates were cheaper after 11. Yeah. That made me laugh too.
She said he hasn't said I loved you. He's like, the tall guy with the glasses. I just said it.
But just like the rates after 11, just like little cheap jokes like that. It's really.
Well, he's like he's that kind of guy. He's a one-liner kind of guy. Take my wife, please, kind of guy. Henny Youngman, another guy in that same category.
Yeah. Shecky Green,
who's still alive, I think.
He really is still alive. Yeah, I think he's in the upper 80s,
upper 180s, maybe. He was old in History of the World Part 1.
She also tells him that his shorts are in the side pocket next to his denture cream.
He can't figure out how to unpack his suitcase. Apparently, where are my shorts?
How small are those shorts?
How big's his suitcase? That they're on a. However, do we know how long these cruises are? Are they 5 days, 10 days?
It depends. I think we've had a 5-day, and I think we've had something longer than 5-day. But
so how much you packing? Really, how much you packing for?
I've never been on a cruise that's been more than like a few hours around Manhattan, around the Statue of Liberty. I did that when I was a kid, but that's the only cruise I went. Circle Line, I think it was called. Yeah,
it's good. That's a good cruise.
It was like me,
we were
my
actually
family,
talking about doing that again,
grandparents, and everything.
That'd be fun to do.
Oh, Circle Line?
Yeah, because there's a bar and go all around Manhattan and stuff like that and drink.
Yeah, I was a kid.
Drink.
I remember it was fun. I had a good time.
Yeah. So now, this woman's Maisie. Is that what we're calling her? Is that her character
Maisie
name?
Nolan.
Yeah, she's Polly in real life. Yeah,
Polly Bergen. So she comes in. She's looking for table number 9.
Number nine
for dinner, and it looks like somebody handsome sitting there, so she gets real excited. But then Durwood Moss shows up,
and they, how do they get the same table? I don't think.
I
think
see
they
that
assign them randomly.
I could see if they were booked together, they'd be sitting at the same table. Yes,
you're booked together, but
they're singles, so it's like they just picked 4 random singles to go to this table, and it happens.
It's possible. Maybe they just because they're in rooms next to each other.
It makes it easier for TV.
Well,
for this episode, the movie.
Obviously, it's television, so they surprisingly
that's for
they
our
got
one
the same,
listener out there. I just want you to
surprisingly they got the same table, but it is funny that they did. Maisie is sneakily kind of hot here. I mean, she is an older woman for sure. She's got to be in her 60s, but
I'm going to tell you right now,
she's got good eyes for sure.
Get you.
Oh, listen, I'd be happy to get her. And this guy, when she first got to the table, that was Jack Nicholson. Like, I was like, is that Jack Nicholson? Now, obviously, you get close to him, he's not.
Yeah.
But when they showed the across the room shot, I'm like Jack with his like shining hair, that kind of like
11 minutes in, we get Loni Anderson walking in, looking incredible in that dress.
Yeah, I mean, Loni Anderson had one thing going for her, and
what was that? Her hair?
I mean, she's a hottie.
1 year later, she'd be in
70s hair.
She'd be starring as Jennifer in WKRP in Cincinnati. And once again, I'd like to point out that it was Gordon Jump who molested Dudley in a Different Strokes episode.
And also, he did not know that turkeys don't fly.
That's right.
As God is his witness, turkeys don't fly.
And that's right, Mr. Horton's Bike Shop, Different Strokes.
On 5th in Maine, if you're looking for a new bike. Where was that, New York? Yeah, New York.
Yeah, they were in New York, yeah. So we get the 4 of them now sitting at the table. Once again, I said Loni Anderson has joined table number 9. And this is where you made the joke, it could be any number you want.
Oh.
She said, what table is this table? What table is this? He said, it'd be any table you want. So she wanted table 9. Hi, I'm Barbie.
I'm Ken. I giggled.
It was so cheesy, but it worked. It was really good.
So now Theo's eating dinner with Gopher and Doc. It's very. I mean, why don't they?
I thought that was really strange too. Like, why wouldn't anybody else take him?
Why don't they put him at a table with the singles? They don't know how old he is, do they? I mean,
I guess not. Right? There's no computer system. They're looking at a piece of paper that they just printed out. Right?
So this kid is.
Or did they handwrite it?
They might have said "Mom." See him at the table, "Mom." Now this kid is guffawing nonstop. And Sandy Duncan's at the next table.
All she's hearing is her kid.
She keeps hearing the laughter because you're watching him or her and her husband talk. And
I wish they would have told us what he had, at least, like given us
the kid.
He had this. I mean, I don't know. I feel empty.
It's depressing enough that a kid died.
But I feel
anti-kid dying. Listen, I don't like that stuff in movies when kids are in trouble. I don't like that.
I'm anti-animals dying. I can't. I'd rather see a human die in a movie than an animal.
I agree, but not a kid.
But when it comes to kids, it's tough too. Yeah,
I don't like seeing kids suffer. My kids suffered enough. I don't need to watch it in movies. So Sandy Duncan leaves. She can't take it. She leaves. Now Connie, right, shows up in a ridiculous dress.
Why is she even bringing that dress on this boat?
And somebody, is it Doc or
and there's our slapstick comedy this week for
Doc or Captain Stubing covers Theo's eyes.
Don't forget, Sandy Duncan was just bawling her eyes out.
And now we have Gopher getting a cake in the face because he can't control himself because a hot woman walked
pulls Connie aside and says that Julie told her to wear that dress.
Yeah, I mean,
such a cunt. There's our explicit lyrics, ladies and gentlemen.
But really, this is uncalled for. And Doc, The captain should be smart enough to know that all he should do is go right. You see, this is a Three's Company plot right here. All he should do is go right to.
And he had Isaac over here. Isaac overhears it. So it's
and Isaac. See, Isaac is the only person on the crew that is smart enough to figure out what's going on because he's onto it already.
He gets right into
he's onto it already. Yeah, he's like, you're an idiot. But he's the only one that's smart enough to figure out what's going on here. But really, the captain should go over to Julia right now and be like, "You told her to wear that," and she'll say, "No, I didn't."
So
now,
here we had
obviously it's she's being lied or she's lying. So, well, we know she's lying, but the captain could figure this out in 2 seconds. But
the captain, all you have to do is talk
for plot purposes. So it's a Three's Company script. No one talks. No, it's all hearsay and overhearing the wrong thing at the wrong time.
We get Jack and Macy dancing, and Steve and Loni Anderson are sitting there talking, and
she
Loni Anderson says that
really into him, and he's kind of like.
But she also tells him that he reminds her of her dad.
Yeah,
and that's what Macy overhears.
I mean, Steve Allen should be happy she didn't say grandfather because he is 70, she's 25.
Yeah, I didn't look up his age in this, but I mean, he's
an old man, and she says, "You remind me of my dad," and I guess she wants to have sex with her dad because she is all into
There's
him.
some daddy issues there with Loni Anderson.
And listen, if it wasn't for daddy issues, there would be no stripper. So thank God for daddy issues.
And you know what? Good for Steve Allen.
If he's pulling in Loni Anderson,
look, he goes at the Tonight Show in 54,
and this is 25 years later.
Yeah, he's still pulling Loni Anderson.
So now we go back to Sandy Duncan's cabin, and she's staring at a picture of her kid.
Which was just
no noticeable injuries on the child's face in the picture, so we can't tell that he got hit by a car or something.
This was some really weird stuff here. She kept saying she can't, and I don't know. It was just it was a tough scene.
Well, I mean,
this is supposed to be fun, and we joke around, and we have a good time. I'm not going to lie. I got a little choked up.
I didn't get choked up, but I found this very dark for a show that's kind of bills itself as a comedy. Maybe not a sitcom, but still it's a comedy. I'd like to talk about Sandy Duncan for a second here. There were rumors.
Her eyes were really blue. Her eye was really blue.
Listen, I'm going to tell you right now. I looked it up. Sandy Duncan does not have a glass eye.
Is it porcelain?
No. She had cancer. Brain cancer, I believe. She had brain cancer.
Did you at least warn me?
They did an operation. It was like behind the optic nerve in her left eye, and it left her blind in her left eye. But the doctor and she decided that because she's just blind in her eye, but it's not that she can't. It still works as far as it tracks with the right eye. So they figured they'll just leave it in, and so she can't see out of her left eye, but it's not a glass eye. But I remember growing up, there was always the rumor that Sandy Duncan had a glass eye. Sammy Davis and Sandy Duncan, glass eyes, but Sandy Duncan does not have a glass eye.
Well, that ruins it, don't it?
Just saying, I'm just trying to dispel any myths. You know, what do I care about Sandy Duncan? But
I know we shouldn't have started this podcast.
Does that ruin the last 40 years of Sandy Duncan glass eye myths?
Well, the only thing I could tell you is she's been in his Triscuit commercials and the Hogan Family after Peter Pan. Yeah.
Yes. Peter Pan was after this, by the way. Peter Pan was 2 years after this.
Yeah, you had no idea in 2 years you were going to see Sandy Duncan.
I wasn't watching this show.
Maybe you saw this episode. You don't know. Your parents could have this episode on in the background. Have you asked your parents if they watched The Love Boat?
Oh, I definitely remember watching Love Boat as a kid. That's just nothing. I don't remember any specific episodes.
My mom watches it every Sunday on MeTV.
Still, to this day. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
She records it, so like if she's not home, she'll watch it. Yeah, it's just something she really enjoys watching. That and like 90 Day Fiance, which I can't get into.
I was recording Batman, the '66 show when it first came on MeTV.
Is that on anything now?
I mean, we're talking at least 10 years ago, and I was like, oh my God, Batman '66. And I started DVRing it, and then it got to the point where I was like,
yeah, too many episodes.
I had like 30 episodes. I'm like, obviously, I'm never going to watch these. So
that's how you start to end the show. You're like,
but it was
like
a weird. It was
it
was on at like midnight, so it was too late for me to watch live. So I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch these. And then weeks go by, and I'm like, oh yeah.
Like if they would only put it on like earlier for you to fall asleep,
8 o'clock or something like that. I'll just watch it instead of. I mean, Family Guy, Big Bang, Office. I can only watch so many repeats of that.
It feels like shows. FXX plays the same Family Guy episodes over and over and over again. Like they're stuck on season 16.
I don't think I get FXX anymore with my slimmed down cable product.
The only new show on there I think that you would really care about would be you watch It's Always Sunny, right?
Yeah, but I don't watch it new. It's on like Vice or something like that.
Too, yeah. I'm sorry. All right. So yeah, we had Sandy crying. That was a good story because seriously, I did believe.
Did I tell a story?
The glass eye. I thought.
Oh, the glass eye. Yeah. So she does not have a glass eye. She's blind in one eye, but
I mean, I had my eyes operated on as a kid.
It's a dead eye, but it's not even a dead eye because
is it lazy eye?
It still functions
like a lazy eye.
It functions in the sense that it moves with the right eye, so it's not like it's just sitting there staring off into space.
That's the like Cosby has like that dead eye, like. But they said that was like so he could keep one eye on the door.
I was gonna say, is that from getting poked in it so many times? Like every woman that he raped poked him in the eye. Laughing about rape. That's nothing funny about rape.
We're not laughing about rape. We're laughing about
Bill Cosby being a rapist. And now he's out of jail. How'd that happen?
I don't know, but they need to bring Jell-O pudding pops back.
Did they take him off the shelves because of Cosby?
I think they were off the market before all that. So we get them.
So
she says, "Don't leave me. Don't ever leave me." Kind of like it seemed like almost like I was like, "Don't tell me he's leaving her now too."
Well, they never. I think she's just very fragile.
I thought that's where it was going. I got nervous.
Yeah, she's very fragile.
She was in a fragile state. You're right. And here's an elevator scene.
I know. We do get an elevator scene every episode. So
Steubing and Gopher were going after to look for Theo to let him know what's going on.
On a boat of 1,000, they just happen to run into him on the elevator as they're looking for him.
And he was the only person on the elevator with his fancy Walkman of.
It's like a transistor radio, and he's got the old one ear headphone thing. I don't think they had stereo back then. It was just the
mono, right?
Mono kind of one ear thing. I think I had that too back in the day. I think Theo and I.
You probably had that when you were on the train to go see Peter Pan with your grandma. Was it your grandma?
My aunt, my dad's sister. I'm probably his age. I'm going to guess I'm his age. Maybe he's a little older than me.
Oh, James Bond's age?
I'm not 7. I would be 7 at this time. This kid's probably 10, but we're in the same generation or age bracket.
I think
so.
Well,
Brian, too. Brian's the same age as me, so.
I'm the youngest.
Brian's much older than me, actually. He's months older than me.
Go ahead, Brian. You can talk. I mean,
I'm barely like 3 months older than you. 2 months. 2 months.
Don't take this shit.
He's well over 2 months older than me.
Even Sucky
less than 2 months. I'm the 14th. You're the 11th.
10th.
Here we get Isaac telling Julie that he's basically telling her the details about Connie.
Isaac overheard.
And guess what? Julie doesn't believe him. What a freaking surprise.
Oh, now you say frickin'? You said the...
What a fucking surprise.
I think we've crossed the threshold now.
But now I'm going to be the bad guy. I'm the one that's always cursing. Brian needs to say
I really try not to curse on this one. I really try not to curse on the Love Boat one. And it's tough. It's tough.
That way it wasn't even planned. It just came. I don't even remember what I said.
You weren't wrong, but I was shocked.
Yeah, I agreed.
I was shocked. I was like,
So we're going there.
We've come down.
But you knew right away that Julie, it was too early in the episode. Julie wasn't about to be like...
Yeah, Jack has not talked to Chrissy and Janet yet. He has not figured out, that
and Mr. Frelly overheard something.
Yes. So she does not believe Isaac that Connie's after her job. And now the insurance guy's
he's offering her a homeowner's policy.
Well, she's like, I'm not ready to make this commitment. You're like, oh my God, what's going on here? And he's like, I can give you a double indemnity and life and stuff. So he's trying to.
She basically hides what he's saying, so she would think that Steve Allen would hear it and think that she's like, I can't do this yet. We're gonna get there. Blah blah blah.
They're talking about insurance.
It's all insurance. He's trying to sell her insurance now, but he does get into it a little later.
Which is just, I mean, like trying to sell insurance to people on a cruise ship, man. I would be. Not talking to anyone.
Eavesdrop comes up here as well.
Yep.
So
eavesdrop. Yeah, I didn't have the subtitles on for this one, so I didn't see it spelled. But now I know how it's spelled.
Come up. She says she turned down.
I probably couldn't spell it correctly, but I know there's a V in there.
She's talking to Steve Allen here. She says that she turned Jack down, who was the insurance salesman. But Steve Allen says he was giving an insurance pitch. He knew what was going on there, but she was trying to say that it wasn't what was going on.
So they're fighting. He's now all the lights went off on the boat here. It's nighttime, but the lights never turn off on the boat like that. It was like a blackout or something.
I guess that's just supposed to tell us it's the next day.
Yeah. So now Theo, it's not the next day. The kid had a nightmare. He woke up in
the middle of the night. Yeah.
He knocked on the next door neighbor's door, I guess, and it just so happens to be Sandy Duncan's, and he's scared. He had a nightmare.
But here's my thing too. Like he hatches his plan to be adopted. How does he know?
Well, I don't think he does yet. I think this is a stroke of luck.
So he got lucky here. That's what I was wondering.
He just so happened to knock on the door, and it's a couple, and he's scared. He had a nightmare, and he's like, "Hey, can I stay here?" or whatever he says. And
he was very forward. He got himself into bed with Sandy Duncan.
He's like, "Can I
minutes.
cuddle?"
Within minutes, he was
I don't
in
care
bed.
about your dead eye. Let me cuddle up next to you.
Just look over there.
And so they bond. They're talking, and I don't think the dead kid comes up yet, but
no,
she seems to enjoy his company.
He seems like a little lost. At first, I was thinking, did he set it up?
Yeah, he seems like a con man, but this is not a con. I think he was really scared, and
maybe he's in 2 other episodes. So I'm looking forward to see what he might be a con.
James Bond is in 2 other episodes too.
No, he was. This was his only episode.
Oh, who's in 2 other episodes?
Jim Stafford.
The dad.
The dad.
Okay, or the husband, I guess.
But there he is, jumping right into bed. James Bond III bedded Sandy Duncan in 1977.
James Bond's had many women. Sandy Duncan's just one of them. Anyway, so that's it. They put him in bed with Sandy Duncan, and that's the end of that part.
Then it got a little weird here. Doc starts saying that, or Gopher says Connie and him, it was a secret. Him and Connie are a thing. And then Doc says, that's funny because it was me and Connie last night. And then this is where Isaac turns to Julie and says, you are gullible.
But we never saw Doc or Gopher alone with that girl. So are they both just like...
I don't know if they're both trying to say that to be like, hey, I'm getting a girl, or if Connie really is just hooking up with 2 different guys.
Maybe.
It's possible.
That could help her chances of getting a job.
The love boat.
If Gopher and Doc are both banging her and they're like, hey, you can't get rid of her.
It seemed like Meryl might have been getting in there too. But I don't know.
So Isaac basically lays it all out here. He's like, you, Julie, are an idiot, and this girl's trying to steal your job.
They
say gullible?
God. Called her gullible.
I thought you said you're an idiot.
But yeah, basically.
These shorts that Julie is wearing here, let me tell you something. Julie doesn't do it for me, but in those shorts she does.
Those shorts are very nice.
Yeah.
I did not notice them earlier. Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah. I did.
Here, and now Isaac gives her a zombie.
And he says, no offense or whatever, but Isaac is the waiter too. He's got to make the drinks and bring them to everybody. You know how busy he would be.
Look how busy.
How
many people were out on that deck there. There's a lot of people there for him to be doing the drinks and serving them.
Again, I'd like to say I've been on cruises. Getting a drink is a hassle sometimes, especially on deck when it's a nice day out and you're trying to get a beer or you're trying to get a couple beers and there's 50 people trying to bug 3 bartenders. They're not going to be bringing the drinks to your table too.
Yeah.
But
here we get
Isaac's got time for that, I guess.
Right after that, we had Steve Allen. He walks up, first of all, best dressed in this episode. Yeah. That was a great outfit he had on. And he had a great line as he walks up to Macy Allen. He says, I didn't know they make orthopedic bathing suits.
I like to point out
that the delivery of it.
He's a one-liner guy, but Steve Allen's wearing white pants. Julie was wearing white shorts. Loni Anderson was wearing white pants earlier. Like it's a white pants are a thing back then, I guess.
I guess that's a cruise ship thing too, like where people wear like khakis.
Never ever owned white pants, but
I don't think I've ever owned white pants or shorts.
I got a great white pants story, but I will not tell it on this podcast.
That's going to be on the podcast that cannot be named.
Yes. All right. So Theo now is
Theo's hatching his plan here on the dock. He basically comes right out and says, your name's Mrs. Baker. That's a lot to say. How about we change it up and can I call you Mom?
Yeah.
And he basically says, can we do it just for the... He says he's very dependent because he's had a job since he was 6. He's been doing the paper route since he was 6. He says this is where he asks about their son. Sandy says he can do it. It's just for the... and this is where he calls him and calls Sandy and Jim orphans as well.
I've known a lot of 6-year-olds in my life. None of them can handle the responsibilities of doing a paper route. I'd even say a 10-year-old can't do it. Paper routes are not just throw the papers at people's houses. You got to know who's getting it. You're on your own. You're on your bike.
You got the inserts.
Yeah,
you got all that.
Sunday papers are tough, man. But I had a
There's
paper route.
There's no way he was carrying them all by himself.
I had a paper route, but I think I was 12 when I had it. So to say you had a paper route,
he's a little kid. He's
6.
not carrying more than.
And he's probably from
papers.
what? I mean, I guess everybody's from L.A. on this, right? So he's driving.
He was from Stockton.
Stockton?
Yeah.
New Jersey?
California. Stockton, California.
It would have been cool if he was from Stockton, New Jersey.
Yeah, it would have been a long way from home, though. Yeah. It would have been tougher to get the Dennisons out there.
That's true. I didn't think about his actual family. You're right.
So Richard is Sandy's husband here, or Peter Pan's husband here. And he says he spoke to the captain that Theo does have parents. And guess what? Sandy doesn't believe him.
Yeah, I think Sandy's already fallen in love with this kid, and it's like, he's mine. Like, you know, we're taking this kid when this cruise is over.
And this is where she says that his uncle paid for the trip. We'll see what happens in Puerto Vallarta.
Okay, so that's where they talk about Puerto Vallarta, and the uncle's meeting them there or something like that to pick him up.
And then as they're about to leave, they open up the door and they get the little, guess who's coming to dinner?
Which, I mean, I was like, really? Are we making this kind of joke right now? Guess who's coming to dinner? And he says it, and okay, I guess that's what we're doing here. But
I thought it was
a great movie, by the way. Guess who's coming to dinner?
I didn't think it was needed.
It was
in the scene, right?
It was shocking that this little kid would even get the reference. Like, he's a black kid, he's going with a white family to dinner, and guess who's coming to dinner? Like, real okay, I guess we're doing that. I mean, that movie probably didn't come out more than like 5 years before this, so I guess he has some kind of reference to it at that
Still
time.
Seems
but
young to know that he would have seen it and know the context of
right.
it.
That's it. The context of that I was kind of strange. I was like, okay, I guess that's a thing.
Yeah. So here we get our pal Julie talking to Gopher, Doc, and Isaac, and she says she's planning the captain's cocktail party, which she says will be Wild West theme.
Which I have immense amounts of problems with. Not the fact that it's a Wild West theme, but where did everybody get their 10-gallon hats? Where did the captain get his white 10-gallon hat?
Were they told to bring
Where
it?
did they get the flannel shirts, the bales of hay?
Did they get
all that nonsense? I was like, what? And okay, you're going to the stupid party. You packed a flannel shirt.
They couldn't have, because it just came up with the idea while they were on the cruise. So it's not like they could have said, "Don't forget to pack your."
While you were in Puerto Vallarta, you went and bought a flannel shirt and a 10-gallon hat for you. So you're
like, if you want to be a part of our Wild West themed cocktail party, stop off at a couple of shops on the docks here in Puerto Vallarta.
And they're calling ahead, being like, "You got to get some Wild West stuff out there.
You got a lot of 10-gallon hats because they're coming."
They're taking those sombrero hats.
That's how they're measured,
like
right? It's like, I got an 8-gallon hat. Like,
I think it's based on how much
water would
fill in that. But 10 gallons is a lot, man. Those hats probably are not 10 gallons.
I mean,
10 gallons is a lot.
10 gallons makes me think of like how much of an asshole Carl looked like on Walking Dead when he was wearing Rick's hat when he was like a little kid. The hat was just too big for him. Remember?
I do remember that. I do remember that part of Walking Dead. I'd also like to point out that Guess Who's Coming to Dinner was also a great line in a Star Trek movie. I don't know why that just popped into my head, but it's the
which one?
It's the one where the Klingons in the Enterprise like meet, and they're trying to form an alliance, and so all the Klingons are going to come over for like a get together, and Chekhov goes, "Guess who's coming to dinner?"
I was just going to ask who says it.
I remember in the theater watching that and being like, did Chekhov just say, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" and about Klingons? Ay, okay.
That's pretty deep.
It was. I remember that. That was one of the best Star Trek movies. I've seen that multiple times. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Total.
That's what this podcast is all about.
Yeah, I guess
we're all over the place.
It's all about nonsense. So why not add more nonsense?
So Captain walks up with Connie, and
with
Connie
his arm, like arm in arm.
I was going to say, she's like draped all over him, and she says,
and this
Captain says
she's done no actual work as a cruise director here.
Not a thing.
All she's doing is hitting on guys and dressing,
possibly
revealing.
Sleeping with Doc and Gopher,
maybe together
in the same night,
maybe
possibly
in the same
together.
room. Doc's got a lot of room in his 3-room bungalow there. So anyway,
and so Connie
now,
basically stole the idea for the Wild West theme.
They know it word by word because obviously Julie already had this written down, and she stole the paper out of her desk drawer or whatever it was.
Yes.
So they're all now they're all aware. Gopher and Doc are now like, "Oh, Isaac, obviously you were correct. So now we have to figure this out." Jim, Sandy's husband?
Yeah, I think Richard is his name in the show. I think
Richard.
But Jim, I'm confused with that
guy.
Too.
That guy with the sweater tied around his neck.
That was a hip look for
that was the look at that time.
Theodore locked himself in the bathroom here. He didn't, because he said no one, or he was.
This is where you find out the uncle didn't pick him up. He was
supposed to get off the boat here and greet his uncle or whatever. But this is where Richard comes in and says no one was there to claim him. So once again, Sandy's thinking, like you said earlier, this is her boy.
Oh yeah, she's already sunk her claws into this kid.
It's all falling into place for her right now.
She's like, she probably called the uncle and said, "Don't show up."
She said, "You show
this
up.
Kid is mine.
You show up. It's your eye.
I got my eye on you.
It's an eye for an eye.
I got my eye on you, buddy boy." So Stubing is in his office here on the phone. I guess they're at sea now, so he can use his phone.
Stubing was talking. You find out you don't see her, but he's talking to Mrs. Dennison, and it seems like she was unable to make it to Puerto Vallarta. And she will meet up with them in, Brian?
Mazatlan.
Mazel tov.
So basically Theo thinks that no one was there to claim him. He thinks he's going to be going with Sandy and Jim as well. Jumps in the pool. He's having a good time.
Now,
there's a good line here from Jim. He told them to watch out for sharks.
Richard Jim. Based on how this episode ends, she tells him he could be in the Olympics based on his swimming. Do we ever find out why he left his parents? Because his parents seem like concerned, caring people. So
he said they were fighting because I think.
Oh, they're right. We
heard,
the dad says that. I know you heard us fighting, but
but it's fixed now.
Is that any reason to run away when your parents are fighting?
It seemed like a simple, like it's a regular family fight because it's like over in their corner,
and they're together.
Like our fucking kid bought a cruise and we gotta go.
Now we're really angry.
This is embarrassing. The captain called us. We had to leave Stockton, California.
Where is Stockton, California? I'm not
Mazatlan.
No, don't they meet him in L.A.?
No, Mazatlan, right?
Oh, I thought they met him at the end of the cruise.
Well, I think they missed Mazatlan.
They missed Mazatlan as well. And Julie,
where's Stockton?
I think that's Northern California, right?
It's
is
not
that
in
up
LA
by like Fresno?
No, I think it's one of the towns around.
Like it's a part of LA.
Suburb,
LA
it's
one
suburb.
of the millions of just gobbled up parts of Los
up.
Angeles. See, we're all Jersey boys, man. Like we don't know California.
We don't have our West Coast house yet. I was hoping we'd know somebody get a house in Vegas or something so we could go out there more often. But
eventually, before we're dead, someone will have a house in Vegas and
we need
go out there. Oh, look at Brian Google Maps.
Brian is our Google. Are we? Yeah.
So
ask Brian.
Oh,
we'll call this
you're right. It is Northern California, outside of San Francisco.
Oh, wow. Jeez, man. So this kid somehow got all the way from up there down to L.A. to get on this boat on paperboy money. Listen, as a former paperboy myself, this kid is getting paid dimes.
Like it's 77 too. Think about it. Yeah,
he is making like $5 a week to deliver the paper.
People are giving him a dime tip, like you said, and that's it.
The paper for the week probably costs 90 cents. They give him $1 and
she
say
looks
keep
really
the change.
good in the scene too. But
she's
in the robe.
Connie, yeah. I was shocked that
yeah.
She kind of never made it. She's very attractive.
Now, did she maybe make some underground films, possibly?
Oh, I didn't Google that.
Yeah.
But I will tonight.
You can kind of see it between her legs here.
What? Hang on. Can we do this frame by frame?
Really hard.
We're now doing the podcast. Each frame, we will stop and speak.
Oh, man. But you know who she reminds me of? She reminds me, speaking of Walking Dead, she reminds me of Maggie.
I could see that.
Lauren Cohen.
Cohen, yeah.
Yeah, she looks like her. She's actually, I think,
a hotter version.
I was going to say she's more attractive, yeah. And I'm not a fan of Lauren Cohen, but this girl's more attractive.
Wait a minute, not.
I guess I'm not going to say I'm a fan of hers, but I'm not a fan of hers.
I know, but when you do not a fan, it makes you have to think in your head. So he's not.
Is that a triple negative?
If he is,
so
you got to carry the one.
I always forget to carry the one. It's like when you try to figure out those math problems when they put them online. They're like, figure out 3 times 3 divided by 3 plus 3. And I'm like, I don't remember my orders of occupancy.
Do we have to do multiplication?
The answer is either 72 or 0. I forget. I don't even know.
And then you look at the comments, and it's like you see every answer you think it could be.
Yeah, 9. Oh no, 72. Oh, 15. Right.
Yeah,
one
0.
Of those
I knew it was 0.
One of those is right.
So here's our scene we touched on a little bit earlier, where Connie's on the phone, and it seems like she's talking to a Captain Merrill Stubing.
Oh my God. Listen,
but
this is what the 9th episode we've done here. Of all the stupidity that has ever been perpetrated on this show, this is the dumbest thing they've ever done.
Could they not even do like a muffled?
Why didn't they just get Gopher to do a?
Gopher seems like he could possibly do
Gavin McLeod impersonation. Instead, it is a terrible voiceover of Gavin McLeod's voice against a badly lip synced.
He's pretty monotone, right?
Oh my God. Anybody you work with for a long time, you can do some kind of impression of their voice. And the fact that they actually dub in the actual voice of the actor instead of just having the other actor do an impression of, I was like,
how many times did Fred Grandy listen to this to get it exactly right, because he had to move his mouth at the right time? Because
I think what happens is he probably says it, and then Gavin McLeod voiceovers it, so he's the one that has to watch. Yeah. So, oh my God, this
is behind the scenes with Andy on.
Well, I'm guessing that would be the easier way to do it.
I know, but we're making it real here. That's real.
Oh, okay,
that's a thing.
But I mean, as far as
this was so bad,
stupid Three's Company nonsense, this is the worst.
Full on sentences.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I want you to be dressed properly. I'm having
And
Mr. Hildebrow up there, and I want you to make him feel friendly. And it's Gopher speaking, but it's Captain Stubing's voice, obviously dubbed.
Tonight is only the beginning, Meryl.
So that's what happened. So she's set up now. Well, not yet. Well, she's getting set up here to...
Yes, and you kind of feel bad for her a little bit.
No. I feel no shame. I feel no pity for this
legs,
woman.
Dude, come on.
But the fact that they're doing this is great. I'm glad that these guys are doing this to defend Julie. But
I think they went a little too far. But that's
I'm really
me.
surprised he's not saying like Gopher's not saying, I'd like you to go down to Gopher's room tonight and service him, and that would make you.
Also, think about it. If what Gopher and Doc was saying earlier was true, they both hooked up with her, and now they're doing this to her. That's not cool.
Wow, these are slimy guys. We know that Doc's
but
a
it's
terrible
not cool.
person. But
I mean, you're Team Doc here.
I am Team Julie. I think I'm glad they're doing this for Julie.
All because he saw Julie in those shorts. If you didn't see Julie in those shorts,
and Julie's in the room still, overhearing her
Julie
saying
hears
this.
it,
Yeah. Oh my God, so silly.
But spot on, Gavin McLeod.
Spot on, Gavin McLeod.
We got a banjo here. I thought that was pretty cool.
So here we are at the Wild West night. Everybody, every man in this
has a
hall
hat.
has a 10-gallon hat or some gallon
and
hat,
a handkerchief
and a flannel shirt and blue jeans and boots. Boots, those are expensive. You're not just picking up boots in Puerto Vallarta or Mazel Tov or wherever the hell they went.
Belt buckles,
and somehow they got tablecloths that look like Wild West tablecloths, and the logistics here just make the mind wobble.
There are lights. I don't remember lights being around in the Wild West.
Lights? Oh, well, maybe they were candle lit lights.
Yeah.
Most of my Wild West knowledge comes from Blazing Saddles, so I'm not.
We can't really. And we're not allowed to talk about that contractually.
Theo says he's Black Bart,
he does say Black Bart, which is a very funny line, and Jim laughs.
But that's
great.
That's Blazing Saddles. His name is Bart, and he says Black Bart at one point.
Because he's say Billy the Kid,
Cleavon Little. Yeah.
He called him Billy the Kid. He said, "No, I'm Black Bart."
Yeah.
And what year was Blazing Saddles? 74, I think.
74. So it's before this. But just the fact that he says I'm Black Bart, I was like, hey, that's a pretty good reference. But
I loved Isaac's mustache in the scene
because he keeps doing the lip twist with it, so it keeps bouncing back and forth. Isaac is an all-star in this episode because of his figuring everything out early, trying to rescue Julie, and
Julie finds out here
mustache.
that it was Gopher's impersonation that made Connie wear the red dress. And
does he do it again right now too? He does it again.
Yeah, he puts the hat down a little bit and says it kind of here, and you see Connie walking around in the red dress. That
she comes back in the red dress, which is really odd. That I would think women would want to wear different dresses,
But she knew.
I have one.
She
suit,
knew she was supposed
one
to come
suit,
after this guy, though.
But
and
women always have to wear.
He said wear that dress because
everything.
it was sexy. I guess.
Did he say that? Did
he told her to wear
the red dress?
Yeah.
Okay. And so now we're meeting Colonel, whatever his name is,
Mr. Humbertson, and he says, "Excuse me, Miss whatever her name is." He says, "If I'm on the deck, I'm usually with my wife."
Yeah, and she's right there, and his wife is a handsome woman, I must say. She was. I actually kind of jumped back in my seat when she walked by. Like, oh. Yeah, I'd be hooking up with Connie too if that was what my wife looked like.
Livid.
Oh yeah,
he is livid.
Yeah, there goes his wife by, and he is like, and he's wearing a white 10-gallon hat. Like he got
real quick back to Gopher here when he was telling that he did the impersonations. He said, "You ought to hear my John Wayne."
Oh yeah, but that's not my John Wayne. That's not my John Wayne. Wouldn't you do it as John Wayne? Like you should hear my John Wayne.
Why couldn't he do it?
Or whatever your John Wayne is.
Freaking Stubing.
Yeah, they should have. John Wayne was still alive at this time. I think they should have gotten John Wayne just to do it.
I wonder if he's in any episodes.
I think he dies very soon. I don't think John Wayne made it to 1980, so he's probably either dead or dying at this point from that one movie that everybody did and got cancer and died. I forget the name of the movie, but
he lived a pretty long life.
Well, he was an older guy, but I think he only made it. I don't know if he made it to 70. John Wayne.
John Wayne.
What movie gave everyone cancer?
I don't know, but they did it at a place that they had been doing nuclear testing or something like that. And
he died in 79. He was 72.
All right.
How tall was he?
How tall was John Wayne? I don't know. 6'2".
Brian?
6 foot.
6'4".
Wow.
John Wayne was 6'4".
He's like an NBA player.
I was just going to say,
like 4 inches.
He's 6'1.5", and he plays 6'4". Power forward.
I have a real quick aside. John Starks New York Nick from the 1990s. I actually bumped into him one time in New York City, and he's listed at 6'4". I am 6'3". I was towering.
This was on the streets you bumped into him?
I was at an event. He just happened to be at the event also.
Did you sign this ball for me?
I mean, he's barely 6 feet tall. And I remember like looking down at him being like, you're no 6'4", man.
You're like, do one-on-one?
But the only reason I remember that story is because my nephew's grandfather, he's a referee for like local basketball, and John Stark was at a game just recently,
Is he still involved in anything?
He was there to see like a friend's kid play or something like that. I don't think so.
With any teams or anything? Nah. Yeah, sometimes they're like in the upper
assistant coaches or whatever,
like that, too. But he seems like the kind of guy that would get into it.
But whenever I think of people lying about their height, I think of that story because I could easily debunk how tall he was.
Same with like football. You see when they do the combine and everything. You see all that stuff. It's always like,
I don't understand that.
6'3", plays 6'9".
Things are very easy to verify. Why do you lie about your height? How when I'm playing on the court against you, am I going like, oh my God, this guy's 6'4"? How do I get around him when he's only 6 feet tall?
He just robbed me. Couldn't have been John Starks. He was only 6 foot.
He's not big enough to defend against me. What's happening here? Anyway, so
all right,
how the hell did we get on this subject? What are we talking about?
I forget.
John Wayne. John Wayne.
So we get Steubing in his office with Connie, basically firing her.
Yeah, which like, does he have the authority to do that? Wouldn't the Pacific
I guess he could just say you're off our ship.
He could say you'll never work on my ship, but I don't think he has the right to fire her because I would think that has to come from higher up. We have to, they should have had an HR person on this boat, but I guess HR wasn't invented by then.
All right, so we had Connie getting fired there, and she confronted Julie there, saying like, "What are you doing? Like, I'm trying to steal your job this whole time."
And Julie's still trying to defend her, which
and everything like
doesn't make sense. And do they ever make sense of it? Julie never actually.
Yeah, didn't you watch the end?
Did I watch it? Right. I probably watched it. We'll get to it. I watch it, but I watch it like it's.
Is your phone in your hand?
It's background noise. I'm just kind of like, huh? Loni Anderson's on screen. All right, I guess I'll pay attention to this.
Was that a Steve Allen one-liner? I think it's just Titanic. Titanic.
I know listen, I lie. I read the Wikipedia article. And I'm like, okay, I think I got the gist.
So you read the Wikipedia article for each episode?
Which I've tried to do that, and it's really hard to get specific episode Wikipedia stuff.
We're trying to get this set up to where we could do a live episode. We'll have a live studio audience.
There is.
I got a theater. I got a theater audience.
For it. I thought you meant just doing it live. I don't think there's any possible way we could watch the show live.
We consider doing it live now, but I'm thinking if we had people out here and we had it up on the board, we could do that, right?
I guess.
And we had like the
and we'd be pausing it and pausing it and pausing it. And talking about John Wayne and Epstein.
I've seen like Doug Benson does the Doug Benson interruption where they go to a theater and they watch a movie and there's him and a couple comedians and they have microphones. They stop and make jokes and pause and stuff like that. So it could be fun.
We're kind of doing that right now. We don't need a theater. We can put it on this screen right here and watch it
and
here.
then we just get a few people and we're like, hey,
how you doing?
Get a microphone over there.
We'll sit back here. We'll have other people watching it and we'll just make fun of it the whole time.
We got to find like a great episode where there's like maybe like a superstar episode where we have a lot of guest stars.
There's one with a monkey coming out.
I know there's at least 4 episodes, I think, with dogs as well.
Really? Interesting. What, like, now I guess we'll get into it when we get there. Yeah. I'm really now intrigued about the dogs.
I'm excited about this monkey.
Seeing Eye or other.
Is it Clyde?
Clyde?
Like from the
Any which way but loose? Yeah. Huh.
I think Clyde's still alive.
Is Clyde is what, an orangutan? Orangutan?
Mazatlan?
Mazel tov. It's Jewish? Did he get snipped?
So where would we leave off?
Which is funny because I'm not Jewish and I'm snipped. I don't understand that.
I don't know anyone not snipped.
That's one of those jokes that so flies against conventional wisdom. Whenever I hear them talk about that, like, oh, is he Jewish? I'm like, but I'm not, and I'm circumcised. Can we cut this part out? I don't want this. Let's not talk about this on the air. I don't want to discuss this
on next week's podcast. Female circumcision.
Throw her gone. I'd like this part cut out, please. I'll talk about.
Wait, so now just go edit. So that's where you edit. That's where he's going to
edit. Yeah, make a lot of noise. Then I'll be able to see.
All right. So what are we talking about before I started talking about my circumcision?
Right now, we're talking about Steve Allen fumbling with his key to get into his cabin here with
all right, let's go.
Loni Anderson in her white pants.
1, 2, 3, go. So Loni Anderson is so into Steve Allen here. She's hanging on top of him. He's fumbling to get in his room.
She's good to, good to go, but he goes into the wrong room here.
Goes into his wife's room, and she's like, oh, hello.
She's like, oh, you're going with this? What's going on?
And she's got to be like, oh, my God, like, what's going to happen here? He's definitely going to
Steve
nail
Allen's
this
trying to show
blonde.
off, I got this girl, and then she swings the door open just a little bit, and guess
Mr. Insurance Salesman's in there.
He's drinking.
This woman, Polly Bergen, is that her name? She reminds me of like Florence Henderson. She looks like Florence Henderson.
You know what I was just going to say? She reminds me of Flo from Alice.
Oh, okay.
So a combination of Florence Henderson and Flo from Alice.
All
that
right.
might work.
Both hotties in their day, I guess. Well, Florence Henderson for
Polly
sure.
Holiday.
Polly Holiday, yeah.
I think we'll get Polly Holiday on an episode or two.
I'm sure. She was big at this time.
Yeah.
Alice was big at this time. So
she was getting his
Loni
handkerchief
Anderson
off
is
here.
stripping Steve Allen. He's like, nope, I will not have this. I will not stand for you, young blonde woman, undressing me. And he's very concerned about what's going on in the next room.
He gets really excited when she says she wants a drink, so he goes and gets a glass, and he shows her how to test for good
He
china.
says real crystal, and he
crystal,
ding, ding, and he puts it up against
He's
the...
like, that's fine, crystal. And he did the one-liner.
Yep,
I was like, that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine, crystal. So he's now... He's probably suffering from ED right now because now he knows his wife's next door getting banged by the insurance salesman. So he... think of it realistically. I mean, if he's got Loni Anderson and she's got the insurance salesman, who's winning this fight here?
Well, I guess because we're going to say Loni Anderson's the win.
Obviously. I mean, I don't think anybody would debate that this is the win.
And then we get Jack basically kissing,
molesting Polly Bergen over here,
cringing with every touch.
And she's also, I'd like to point out, wearing a Wild Wild West vest.
Yes,
that she picked up in Mazel Tov.
And again, she has a little kerchief around her neck as well.
Where did they get all these costumes? I mean, I get where they got them on the show, but where in the actual logic of the show,
it makes you wonder if they knew somebody in town at Puerto Vallarta that had a shop, and they're like,
maybe there's only like 4 or 5 different options for end of the cruise party, and they just have props ready to go, and they sell them on the boat as they're getting ready. Hey, Wild Wild West, break out that crap.
Julie seemed pretty proud of the idea.
Like it was a novelty. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway,
so we get sad.
So she kicks Jim, the insurance salesman out.
Yes, Jim, Richard Baker. Or whatever,
so she cock blocks him, or not cock blocks him, just kicks him to the curb. Steve Allen comes out the next morning looking. Now he's oh my God, my back. What a rough night I had. Oh no, she's doing it.
She's stretching and be like,
she's doing the rough back thing.
That felt so good.
She's like, I haven't been banged like that since high school. And so Steve Allen's like,
you just rearranged my guts. What's going on with you, Steve?
And he makes some kind of reference, and she's like, there's no one in there. He's like, yeah, there's
nobody in there. He's there. And they basically laugh and then like realize.
Oh yeah, he calls into the room like, get dressed, honey. And she's like,
said, I'll be on deck.
Nobody in there.
And it's basically just saying, hey, we both suck. We like each other.
Like we are so unappealing.
What are we doing?
Actually, I should say they're both very appealing. They both got better than what they had.
Steve Allen's marrying up here, right? I mean, he's more famous.
Yeah. But like I said, she's quite attractive for an older woman, so he should not feel...
Steve Allen with his mini Harry Carey glasses.
Hot dog.
Hey, Nor, if you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
So I guess this wraps up this plot. Now they have reconciled, and he's going to say, I love you, and that's what she wanted to hear.
Yes.
That's it.
Right before this, I wanted to mention, though, Patrick, the guy that was making out with her, when he finds out, he's like,
oh, that's Patrick. That's not Jim Richards.
Jim was the other guy. She goes, your husband in the next cabin with that blonde, and I'm in here with you. And then he goes, call me a prude lady, but I want no part of a kinky scene like this. And then he leaves.
So
he is the actual guy that would be that scene in the 70s, if you ask me.
Of course. And he should be thinking, like, how do I make this into a 4-way where I could be banging Loni Anderson? All right. So we get to Sandy Duncan and Richard Jim here. And I guess she's trying to, what is she doing here? She's trying to figure out how they're going to adopt Theo, right? Still, they're still working on that.
Yeah, they're talking about that. And then she thinks it's the Stuart with their lunch, but it's Julie with his parents.
With the Denisons, right?
These are
Theo's
the Denisons,
parents.
yes.
And is Theo in the room already? Oh, yeah, he is. He's
because she was trying
bed.
to get him up to get ready to eat. And
Sandy Duncan is crushed.
Yeah.
Crushed
and,
that this kid's parents showed up.
Theo runs over to Sandy.
Sandy Duncan in Richard Jim's room is humongous. So much so that they've got a couch in there as well as a king size bed and a desk.
They did have one in a big. That's a good catch here.
That is huge. So I mean the parents have gotten here to get their son, and
he says he doesn't know them. He's trying to basically say get out of here.
I mean this could be summed up in like they want their son back and they're going to take their son.
He said though, he goes, she's not my mother anymore. He said that was really, and then tears were in pretty much everybody's eyes in this section.
Sorry.
And this is where Sandy unloads basically on Theo here and gets out what she's been trying to grieve with the loss of her son.
Right. So that's it. That's basically it. The dad has to talk to Theo saying, "We love you. We're taking you back."
And Sandy basically tells him, "You have to go home, but they need you. They can't survive without you."
And the dad says, "Listen, this cost a lot of money to drive down here from Stockton. You're working overtime on your paper route.
Do you realize
gas
we're in all the newspapers now that my 9-year-old son is kidnapped and lost?
We thought he ran away.
Search parties we have out for you.
You know how much search parties cost? The mom
we were on the local news.
Does the mom say a word here the entire time?
The mom just looks and cries. Right?
I hate to be that kind of guy, but the mom would be the one that would run over to this kid and grab him and hug him and kiss him and be like, "Why'd you leave?" And
right there showed me that like maybe this kid was right. He should be going.
Yeah, the mom doesn't even react. She's just kind of standing there staring at him.
So he is here. Let's do this.
Damn.
At least we got
damn.
At least we got to see Mazatlan.
No, they're in L.A., aren't they? Aren't they back? Aren't they debunking?
Brian, I thought they were in Mazatlan, but you said they missed that.
I think they never made it to Mazatlan.
So Sandy and them went to Mazatlan.
Yeah.
Well, the cruise went there, but the family didn't make it.
Yeah, the cruise went to Mazatlan.
So they're back in L.A.
Because, good Lord, if
usually they show people like leaving and getting on. They didn't really do that this episode.
They never show you getting on. We haven't been to a destination since J.J. Walker was on the boat in Cabo or something like that.
I like when they get off the boat and there's like some adventures.
I think they do that eventually.
It was the Charo getting on with the Carmen Miranda.
Because she got
fruit basket
dropped off and then had to get back on.
We should be seeing her soon again.
Sandy Duncan's looking very glass eye in this episode right here, by the way. It must be just the angle of how it's filmed, but she's almost like cross-eyed.
You can really see how blue her eyes were here, too.
She's got pretty eyes, or one pretty eye at least.
And this was like 10 minutes of crying.
Yeah, this is a very long scene.
This scene was long, and I remember just being like,
wah, 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 because Sandy Duncan is now in tears, like, I just want my son back.
Give me back my son. Sandy Duncan should have had some more dramatic roles. I think she could have been big on like Lifetime movies and stuff like that.
Maybe she is.
But I mean, we didn't see
much.
There wasn't much. Like I think she only had like 30 things in her IMDb. Which seems low for someone that we know that well.
We do know her extremely well for a person that didn't do that much.
Yeah,
you're right. So anyway,
and we learned all about her eyes. Seriously,
I'm sorry I had to bring that up. So Theo's still in tears. This scene's going on for way too long. The
crying on both sides here.
We shouldn't have paused while we were talking about this episode. We could have just talked right over this scene. We would have gotten to the very end.
There we go. The mom hugged. He hugged the mom.
Yeah, finally. And then Theo hugs the mom, and that was it. That's how much we need to talk about this.
And
scene.
after the Denisons leave. They're hanging in the corner.
He bangs her to pregnancy right now. She's so upset about their dead child. She's like,
they're going to adopt.
Is that what happens?
Yeah. What are you
I thought she like touched her stomach like she was pregnant.
He said he can't talk her out of it. It's ladies do what they want to do. They're going to adopt. Right?
Yeah, he was kind of obnoxiously chauvinistic there.
But like she was ignoring.
He does say something like you can't talk women out of anything these days or something like that. Like how dare they be independently minded?
How dare her want to adopt?
I thought she was referencing she was pregnant.
No,
she like touched her belly. I thought. Well, we'll see. It's coming up.
Connie gives a goodbye
I got
here.
the adoption vibe.
Yeah, by this point, I was probably not even paying attention to this episode. After the whole
sorry,
Theo
people.
thing, I checked out. I was like, okay, whatever.
And that's why our Patreon's on hold right now.
Do I have to put effort into this? I was told I would not have to put effort into this.
I mean, I thought you would at least watch the episode.
I watched it.
We're not asking you to do
I
too
didn't
much.
pay attention.
I'm the one taking notes here. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Well, listen, I am not taking notes, man. I'm going to start watching this on Mondays and have a whole week of forgetting about it. And then we'll talk about it on Saturday. Be like, what?
No, you're going to watch it every night before you go to sleep. So starting tomorrow night.
So Connie left.
Connie says
What's her
thank you
story?
to Julie.
Did she say she's doing something else? She's not going to be a cruise director anymore.
I didn't get
she
anything else from her.
That you don't
Basically,
get.
Thank you, yeah.
Well, but Julie did say that she saw something in her so that she could be a good cruise.
But I think
director.
she said she's going to do something else.
She did say something about thank you. Julie says, yeah, I taught you how to be a cruise director in 6 easy lessons. And then Connie said, it was more of a refresher course on how to be a human being. You know what I mean?
So then the Steve Allen, Polly Bergen couple, they leave with no fanfare. They're just like, all right, thank you, bye.
They're like, hey, and no, because Doc makes a comment and said, they're married? I don't remember giving them a blood test.
Oh, like they got married on the cruise ship? Oh,
Because
okay.
he noticed, because Doc remembers all 1,000 people on the ship, and he knew, weren't they singles?
Do you really have to get, listen, did you get a blood test when you got married? I didn't.
No, I didn't get needed.
I guess maybe back then you did, afraid of spreading hepatitis or something like that. It's before AIDS.
This was syphilis era? Maybe the clap?
Maybe. So, wait a minute. Can we pause this and rewind
Pause
this?
it.
Like,
need you to rewind.
Rewind it like 10 seconds or 15 seconds. I want to make sure that she does not actually touch her belly as if she's pregnant here. Because I could have sworn. Oh, and Loni Anderson leaves with the insurance guy.
Yeah, and he's
like trying to sell her insurance. But he says something like, I want to see your
hot commodities
policies or something like that. He makes some kind of like.
So here's Sandy.
All right, Sandy
Jim
Duncan and the guy,
to
and they're talking about her hometown.
And right here, she touches his hand.
Yeah, maybe that's what I saw.
And she starts talking about adoption. He turns to the camera almost. He's like talking to us.
He's like, these women and their independent ideas. I could have sworn I saw her. She's touching his hand, though. That's what it is. I thought she touched her belly. Like,
and
after Theo left, he
a
impregnated
couple
me.
times there.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's good.
And he mouth kissed Julie there.
Did he?
That was
open mouth, like tongue, maybe going in there. All right. Well, they're from the same hometown, right, or something like that. So that's what you do. I guess.
Well, that was this week's episode.
That was it.
The Love Boat.
Okay. I thought there was always like a go to commercial and come back. For
that
like
was
kind of like
the
a
very
stinger
end. They did a
kind of
commercial
thing.
like right before all that.
All right.
So
I see James Bond the third in the end credits. He didn't even get.
He didn't get a front
episode credits, which is funny because he probably had more lines than.
I wish they would redo these, like remaster them and put pictures of everybody. Like
they'll end up getting to.
I don't know what season that starts in. Maybe 2. I'm hoping season 2 it starts in, but we'll see.
So that's the end of that episode, huh? I have very mixed feelings about that. The Sandy Duncan plot was,
I think,
troubling.
I think there was some really good acting in this episode.
As far as
some really good crying in this episode. The humor was lost in this episode because there was too much sadness, I felt
very much so. Is a split personality kind of episode. We have the nonsense with Steve Allen and Polly Bergen. I mean, that's all funny, even though it's a serious issue of them splitting up. But they got back together at the end, so it's all good.
Yeah.
And the gopher falling into the cake, and the ridiculous Wild Wild West party, and then you have the whole thing with Connie. I thought was kind of serious too, with her lying and conniving. Anyway, whatever. Very strange episode.
Well, let's see.
It all can't be stowaways and like twins pretending to be one.
We
ticket.
can't say that no matter how, if the episode goes more comedic or more dramatic or sad, happy. I don't know. It just.
But now on the big board of can't repeat things for the next couple, they have dead child checked off. Can't have a dead child for at least 16 episodes. Adopted young kids.
I think. I think eventually we have like a ghost. There's like a ghost. But
God, I hope so. If there's not one, we need to write the Love Boat episode with the ghost of the Pacific Princess.
So here's some. We'd like to give some guests. The guests for next week.
Oh, next week, yes.
So we got Gary Berghoff.
Radar O'Reilly from MASH. Okay.
Talk
about, we could talk, there's a lot to talk about him. I mean, I love MASH, so I could talk a lot about him.
That'd be good. I think it should be interesting. Jane Curtin.
From SNL, Jane Curtin?
Jane Curtin, yes.
This is I guess Saturday Night Live was already out by then.
77. Yeah, so 75. Yeah.
Yeah. So
she's on Weekend Update already, I think, right?
yeah,
She's doing that with.
I mean, she was
Bill Murray.
one of the first stars.
Or with Dan Aykroyd. I mean,
yeah. Jane, you ignorant slut.
So good.
So good. Still holds up.
Phil Silvers.
Oh, Sergeant Bilko.
And guess who he's playing? Merrill Steubing Sr. Also known as Stubby.
He's his dad?
He's going to be his dad.
He's probably like 10 years older than him.
Phil Silvers, born 1911.
Oh, wow. He's older than I thought. So
Gavin McLeod, born 31.
So he's 20 years older than him. Okay.
Could be his dad, yeah.
Wow, that's okay.
That's pretty good casting.
That is good casting. So now we have met his ex-wife, and we're going to meet his father.
All the rest are names that I'm not really.
Nobody's.
Joanna Kearns, is that?
Joanna Kearns from
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains, yeah.
Joanna
sure,
Kearns
sure,
is in
sure.
this
The mom, yeah.
Wow,
she must be young.
So she was born 53, so she's like 24 in this.
Oh, I'm excited for her now.
Ooh,
nice.
Somebody's watching this episode tomorrow.
My wife's out for the night. I might watch it tonight. All right. That was awesome.
Okay, so follow us. Our Twitter page is exciting and new. I'm Jason. That's Jesus74 on Twitter.
I'm Andy. No Twitter.
And I'm Brian.
So
Papa Bad Kitty on Twitter.
Hit up my DMs.
DP, DMs, whatever makes you happy.
Thank you.